Chairman of the MSJ, Brother Gregory Fernandez, and Chairman of the 4th Annual Congress of the Movement for Social Justice, political leader, Brother David Abdullah, other executive colleagues, sisters, brothers attending this 4th Annual Congress, both here in a restricted situation at Palms Club, but also virtually. Good afternoon. Sisters and brothers, good afternoon. And it is a good afternoon because notwithstanding all of the challenges, the Movement for Social Justice can still have its 4th Annual Congress. And I think that is something we should be proud of. It is an honor and a pleasure to present to you the General Secretary's report. This report of the General Secretary is for the period November 2017 to December 2020. And I will present some highlights because one of the first things that you will notice is the amount of work that was undertaken by this party. We are talking about almost 31 pages of the General Secretary's report to cover those 3 years. And I think we should be proud of the fact that the party took on so much work in that short period of time. As I said, I am just going to focus on some highlights. I want to go straight to 2 major activities that we had. I will mention some others, but I want to start off with national elections because we are a political party. And it's something that our elections officer always reminds us, both at the executive and the activist council. We are a political party and we must be engaged in elections. So I first want to recognize the work of the elections officer, Brother Ernesto Kiza, who had to lead the party into 2 major elections. The first was local government elections on December 2nd, 2019. And I just want to list very quickly those brave brothers and sisters who embarked on this journey to change Trinidad and Tobago with us. In the borough of Point Fortin, we had Garnet Thompson for Hollywood, Ronnie Adams for Egypt, Kester Swan, New Village, Michael Buzzmills, Mahaika Newlands, Nigel White, Tisha Guapo, Daniel George, Cap Deville. For Saparia, we had Crystal Bernard, Erin, Wayne Cyrus, Palo Seco, Brian Campbell, Brighton Bessany, Stephen Baxam, Faizabad Saparia West, Winston Wilson for Mont Desir. Then in the San Fernando City Corporation, O.C. Leonard, Springvale Paradise, Cheyenne Skeet, Marabella East, Faith Coombs, Monrepo Navet, Anderson Scott, Marabella West, Aaron Alexander, Koki Taruba, a group of young people. Then in Digo Martin, we had Rene St. Rose for Cocorit Piti Valley, Paulette Ford, Covine, Rich Plain, Errol Burke, Chagaramas Point Kumana, Kizzy Monsugi, Glencoe, Goodwood, La Puerta. And then in Sawa Laventel Regional Corporation, continuing on the East-West Corridor, Laverne Spencer, St. Babs, Kendall Cador, Beatum, Daniel Wallen, Barataria, Brent Perez, Monk, Lambert Pitibub, Nigel Small, Sawa East, Aranguez. And then we even tackled a lone soldier in Princeton Regional Corporation, Nicholas Ganga for Ben Lamont Hart, Bargain Williamsville. These were the 26 brave sisters and brothers who were willing to challenge the status quo. And we should give them a round of applause and recognize them. We were able to garner some 2,635 votes, which was the 3rd highest after PNM and UNC in that local government elections. And indeed, we would have loved to have had more votes, but with our participation in that election, at least we were able to strengthen some of our areas like Point Fortin, Separia, San Fernando, Digo Martin, while making breakthroughs in Sawa Laventil area. Who's that? And we got back to deposit in Point Fortin. Let's give those brothers a round of applause. Then the party took a strategic decision to engage in the general elections of 2020. But we also took another strategic decision, not to slay, not to slate, I think is the word. I can't remember it right now. But we decided we wouldn't go with all 41 because you had COVID, which would have affected certain people in order to gain campaign finance and so on. So we decided on 5 strategic areas. And I think it's important to recognize the fact that it was the first general elections the MSJ fought on its own. And so we had elevating from local government to general elections, Rene St. Rose and Diego Martin Central. A brother who has been a very active community leader, Marlon Graves for Labre. Our very own elections officer, Tilcon Point 14. Our deputy political leader, Faisabad. And our political leader took on point up here. As a party that is committed to transformation of the relations of power in a country with entrenched political culture on the basis of race, geography, and religion, and with little finance, we received just 1,223 votes. However, those numbers do not reflect the party's position as a whole. We have been able to further consolidate regional councils in Diego Martin, Labre, Victoria, and Point 14 and Separia. And I just want to recognize our party chairman because he, with his own resources, arranged for a well-known soca artist and songwriter, preacher, to produce songs for these campaigns. So I think we'd like to thank him for that. Outside of general elections, whilst we were not able to have annual congresses, we still were able to organize a special congress in 2017, a national assembly in 2018, and a virtual assembly in 2020. And today in 2021, we are able to organize our annual congress. In terms of COVID-19, I think it is important for us to recall and to recognize that the Movement for Social Justice was the only political party that developed and presented a major document called MSJ's Roadmap for Recovery and Changing of Trinidad and Tobago. And this was launched in a live press conference and submitted to the government's recovery committee. The only political party that had a vision to take Trinidad and Tobago out of COVID-19. In terms of other activities, we had Lennox, Oscar Pierre, John LaRose Foundation, which we launched just last year, November of 2020. Why Lennox Pierre and John LaRose? Because they are our political forefathers. Their radical ideas and political organization and their example of fearlessness in challenging the status quo, no matter what the odds against them, and no matter what personal sacrifice they had to pay, laid the foundation for the MSJ. We can proudly say, amongst the many firsts I've mentioned already, that we are the only political party in Trinidad and Tobago that today has a connection with a foundation, which foundation work is to develop policies for the betterment of Trinidad and Tobago, the only party. And let us, another first and only, we were the only party and the first in the forefront in solidarity with the demand to legalize marijuana. Like, we're afraid to clap that to us. We had our brother, Kelvin Naked, and I'm happy to see him here, can he stand, who led that campaign, brought that campaign to the Activist Council. And it was the MSJ's action that forced the government to change and turn around on the issue of legalizing marijuana. Thank you, Comrade Naked, and let us thank ourselves as a party for having that vision. But it's still an ongoing struggle, no doubt about it, because The legalization of marijuana is part of the party's policy on what is called the social economy, and it is included in our roadmap for recovery. So as we talk about the social economy, one of the main pillars of our economic policy, and yes, we have an economic policy that is an alternative to the existing neoliberal policies being pursued by the PNM. Our economic policy is that the wealth of the country must be fairly distributed. And this means that we were able to organize a workshop called the Social Solidarity Economy Workshop along with the Joint Trade Union Movement. The point is, comrades, that this party is not just criticizing, but we are putting forward alternatives to what exists. We continue to be a first. We were the ones out front on May 18, 2017, just 10 days after news broke internationally about, guess what? The operations of Cambridge Analytica and its role in manipulating elections around the world and in Trinidad and Tobago. Comrades, brothers and sisters, we were the first to raise this matter in Trinidad and Tobago. The PNM government did nothing at that time, and this issue continues to be very troubling. I think we should thank ourselves for understanding the role of Cambridge Analytica in manipulating elections. The party, through our activists and with the support of the leadership engaged in other solidarity work in the communities. Wallafield, Akono Village, Karanaj, and we see Comrade Errol Burke here, a real strong fighter in the Karanaj area and continues to be a proud activist council member. Four Roads, Grandi, Arima. These are just some of the examples of how the party engaged in solidarity with communities. Well, let us just say to Cambridge Analytica and all those forces out there that want to stop us, they cannot stop the movement for social justice. With a little patience and with our technical expertise, we are back online and will continue our presentation of the major interventions that the party has made with communities. And it's interesting that it was at that point they sought to bump us off. So I will repeat again that this party, seeing as important the connection with the community, has engaged in a number of major interventions and solidarity with communities. One with the residents of 6 Company, Maruga, but also in solidarity with residents of Karanaj with regards to the alleged police killing of 14-year-old Naomi Nelson. In fact, this party is the only party that has taken a strong position with regards to police killing in Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, we cannot forget that this party is the only party that stood in strong, committed, and real solidarity with the petroleum workers and their union, the OWTU. This began MSJ's active solidarity with petroleum and OWTU in the crucial struggle to defend the rights of workers, the labor movement, and indeed the national interest. Our political leader and the party staunchly defended the union and petroleum workers more than any other party in this country. The MSJ participated at every single public meeting organized by the union, and both the political leader and the deputy political leader addressed those meetings. And I think we should give both of them a round of applause for standing with those workers. In terms of outreach, throughout the years, the work of the social service continued in the party. And we have been able, notwithstanding the fact that we are not in government, or we don't have an MP, or we don't have a councillor, notwithstanding all of that, the party was able to distribute hampers to most of our regions and persons who were in direct need in terms of back to school as well as for Christmas. And I want us to recognize the hardworking, outgoing social service officer, now Deputy Chairperson Melissa Aguilera Greg, and 2 other sisters who helped make those hamper drives a success, Denise Greenwich and Carleen Bermudez. In terms of youth, Youth for Social Justice was very active during this period. One of the major activities organized by the Youth for Social Justice was the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the 1970 uprising. And it's interesting because it turned out that that was the only activity to commemorate the 50th anniversary of that important and critical 1970 Black Power Revolution, because soon after that, we had the lockdown. And thanks to our hardworking, outgoing Youth for Social Justice chairperson, now Education Officer Angelo Hart, we had that activity in Trinidad and Tobago. They also continued the Youth for Social Justice to launch the very first public education series titled Political Education 101, which sought to provide a basic understanding of our social and political state. The YSJ also made an effort to reach out to young people in various communities through a spoken word and creative talent concert program, but that hasn't been able to get off, but we're hoping that the new representative for the Youth for Social Justice, Sister Malika Cumberbatch, will be able to take that initiative forward. Let us recognize, she's not here today, but let us recognize our new Youth for Social Justice chairperson, Malika Cumberbatch. And let me also say, with her joining the executive, it means that we are the only political party with over 50% women as our executive. And over 45% of persons under the age of, I'll be conservative, 30. Brothers and sisters, another area that makes this party so different to any other political party in Trinidad and Tobago is our work in international relations. You see, our party is the only one in Trinidad and Tobago that has active and progressive international relations with other political parties. From our inception in 2010, the MSJ became a full member of the Sao Paulo Forum, which is a network of progressive political parties in Latin America and the Caribbean. And it's something we should be proud of, that we are one of the only English-speaking party in terms of the Caribbean that is part of this very important network of progressive political parties in Latin America and the Caribbean. During the 3-year period, as many as 23 statements and messages were issued in the name of this party. In addition to solidarity statements, the party engaged in solidarity action and protest. As a member of the Sao Paulo Forum and in recognition of our progressive politics, our party received many invitations to participate in regional and international conferences. Our political leader also accepted invitations to speak at several major regional meetings. We were also active, our leaders and our activists were actively participated and provided logistical support to the 8th Assembly of Caribbean People. So we continue to be a powerful party in the progressive movement throughout Latin America and the Caribbean, even though we have not won a seat in either local or general, but we are still respected, we are still recognized for the value and contribution that we make. The movement for social justice also demonstrated throughout the last 3 years that we are indeed real and relevant through a very active public relations trust. In terms of media releases, we have issued some 40 press releases in that period, 40. We've had press conferences almost on a weekly basis. We've had media interviews. In social media, we ramped up with Tuesday Talk with MSJ, webinars on major issues. We had a 3-part series on the 2020-2021 national budget. We even had one on the US elections. We also demonstrated again how different we are by using a format called Community Speaks, which is like a town hall meeting that we organized. And we had in Point Fortin, Faizabad, St. James, La Hoqueta, which unfortunately was postponed. We showed our commitment to the mass movement, to the tradition, the history, the contribution of the mass movement, as we supported and participated in several mass actions organized by mass organizations. May Day 2018, Labor Day 2018, Monster March, 2018, our political leader, notwithstanding what you may think, he made that monster march every day for 3 days from San Fernando to Port of Spain. And he was joined by several other of our leadership. But I really want to recognize that kind of commitment from our political leader to the mass movement. May Day 2019, Labor Day 2019, Labor Day 2020, and we participated in all the joint casabos that the unions organized. Brothers and sisters, as I conclude this General Secretary's report to you, I read into the record the conclusion of that report. It is obvious to us that notwithstanding people's sense of disillusionment, that the low level of consciousness that exists means that we could not have impacted as much as we wanted to at the polls. It must therefore become an imperative for us as a party going forward to work tirelessly on building consciousness. In this context, the MSJ remains very relevant to Trinidad and Tobago. In spite of the electoral support for the party, we remain committed to building an alternative to the traditional parties. Only the MSJ brought a clarity of analysis of the country's condition to the electorate. We know that this message was not strong enough to break through people's allegiance to the culture and tradition of voting by ethnic identity in bourgeois elections. What is necessary is for the MSJ to engage in the task of political education and outreach, especially for young people. Sisters and brothers, comrades all, as I present to you the General Secretary's report for the 4th Annual National Congress, I want to say to you all and to those who are in Palms Club, those who are watching virtually, and to all our naysayers and critics, that the movement for social justice will always continue to be real. We will continue to be relevant, and we are certainly reinvigorated for the future. Thank you.